These amazing structures seem too detailed, too complex, too intricate, or too big to have been built by people, particularly most of them made long ago before machines existed to aid in their creation. Yet the world's most beautiful buildings and statues stand as a testament to human capability and innovation. Some cities have more than one. We could do a whole story on Paris alone, but we search the world to find the structures that best inspire, mystify, and leave us awestruck. We might not be able to see them all in real life, but luckily we can take a trip around the globe to visit them virtually. Number 31, Giant Buddha of Leshan, China. On Mount Amei, the first center of Buddhism in China, sits this remarkable 70-meter-tall Buddha, carved out of the red sandstone rock in the 8th century. Located in the Mount Amei scenic area of protected natural beauty, the Buddha, the largest ancient Buddha in the world, is also partially covered by green vegetation, making it look like he's wearing the forest. Meticulously crafted, his serene face looks out at the meeting of 3 rivers. In addition, his hair features more than 1,000 buns, and his long ears are made of wood covered in mud to adhere to the rest of the stone head. Unseen is the sophisticated drainage system that has prevented the Buddha from deteriorating due to rain. Number 30, Paro Taksang, Tiger's Nest, Bhutan. This monastery high in the Himalayan mountains of Bhutan defies gravity. Its imaginative name of Tiger's Nest evokes a dangerous yet secure hideaway, which is exactly what it is. The name actually refers to the legend of the Buddhist master Guru Padmasambhava, who is said to have found the site by flying there on the back of a tiger. Built in 1692 against the side of a cliff nearly 915 meters above the valley below, the Buddhist temples are layered above one another and stand out from the rock in a colorful mix of white, red, and gold. The current structures, however, are not the original. After it burned in a fire in 1998, the important spiritual and cultural site was rebuilt. Number 29, Mont Saint-Michel, France. Although it's also lovely up close, what sets this monastery apart is the breathtaking view from afar. Just off the northern shore of France in Normandy, Mont Saint-Michel sits atop a small but steep outcropping on a tiny island. On a misty day, it seems to float above the clouds, the abbey's spire rising to the heavens. At high tide, the island is surrounded by water. At low tide, a pathway of sand leads to the village below. The uncertainty of the abbey's surroundings must have lent a sense of danger and mystery to the monastery when it was built in the Middle Ages, and its mystique lingers even today. Number 28, Highclere Castle, Hampshire, England. Better known as the titular location for Downton Abbey, the real English manor home is one of the most beautiful in Britain, and there are plenty to choose from. The site has been occupied by the Earls of Carnarvon since the 17th century, but the current castle dates from the Victorian period. Highclere Castle's almost square design, it's not quite symmetrical, features a central tower, with 4 additional towers at each corner, and it's the spires on the towers and along the roof that give the castle its lofty appearance. Number 27, the Blue Mosque, Istanbul, Turkey. Istanbul, Turkey, has so many beautiful places of worship, and some might say the most beautiful is a toss-up between the church-turned-museum Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque. They're both similar in design, but we're choosing the Blue Mosque because of its refinement and detail, with its 6 graceful minarets, 1 main and 8 smaller domes and gorgeous stained glass. The mosque's crowning achievement, though, is 20,000 ceramic Iznik tiles in bright blue, green, and turquoise embellishing the interior, which give the mosque its nickname. Reds and yellows, along with gold calligraphy, complete the decorations, forming patterns, geometric bands, and medallions. Motifs include flowers, fruit, and cypress trees. Built in 1616, it's officially called the Sultan Ahmed Mosque after the ruler who commissioned it. Number 26, Chichén Itzá, Mexico. The most astounding pre-Hispanic structure of Mesoamerica stands in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, the huge stepped pyramid called the Castle, or Temple of Kukulkan, in the ancient ruins of Chichén Itzá. The city was established by the Mayans and then taken over by another group called the Toltecs, at which time the most impressive structures at Chichén Itzá were built around 900 CE. Named for the Mayan god Kukulkan, a feathered serpent, the central structure is nearly 30 meters tall and has 91 steps on each of its 4 sides. The beauty in its design involves the builder's precise knowledge of math and astronomy. The temple is aligned with the sun, so on the spring and fall equinoxes, the shadow of a serpent seems to crawl down the pyramid. Number 25, the Statue of Liberty, New York, United States of America. A statue of another sort has greeted visitors and immigrants to New York Harbor for more than 100 years. A gift from France in 1886. Fun fact: there's a mini Statue of Liberty in Paris, as well. The neoclassical Lady Liberty wears flowing robes and a crown, and holds a torch and a tablet reading July 4 MDCCLXXVI, which is, of course, July 4, 1776. Standing 93 meters tall, including the pedestal, she's made out of copper, which turned into her distinctive green hue as she was exposed to air, but she was the color of a penny upon her unveiling. Although she's artistically beautiful, her appeal is also in her symbolism of freedom for Americans and those who came there looking for a better life. In fact, her full name is Statue of Liberty Enlightening the World. Number 24, Burj Khalifa, Dubai. From the ancient to the very modern, this high-tech yet exquisite building in Dubai is the current tallest in the world at over 820 meters. Its series of slender cylinders seem to spiral to the sky, ending in a needle-like point. Opened in 2010, the Burj Khalifa sparkles and gleams thanks to reflective glazing and nearly 26,000 hand-cut glass panels that comprise the exterior. The building's sophisticated but subtle beauty might be due to being inspired by nature. The shape of the hymenocallis, or spider lily, a desert flower of the region, was the basis for its floor plan. The interior lives up to its stately exterior. The saloon boasts a 3-story, 15-meter-high ceiling with skylights, surrounded by a second-floor gallery reached by an ornate oak staircase. Number 23, Moai of Easter Island, Chile. These giant heads are also completely unique, with no equal anywhere on Earth. Nearly 1,000 of the statues stand sentinel across Easter Island, also called Rapa Nui, in the Pacific Ocean, reflecting a solemn beauty with their long, wide noses, strong chins, and mouths set in a seemingly determined position. Called Moai, the sculptures were made by Polynesians between 1400 and 1650 using volcanic rock from a local quarry. But at an average of around 120 centimeters tall and more than 90 tons, it's not quite known how the megaliths were moved around the island. And while we think of them as heads, there is evidence that they have bodies below ground, as some archaeologists have discovered. Mysterious and magnificent, the simple yet sublime design of the Moai is captivating. Number 22, La Sagrada Familia, Barcelona, Spain. Barcelona is well known for the distinctive architecture of the city's favorite son, Antoni Gaudí. His style defies description, all curves, colors and textures that look at once as the work of a master as well as something a child molded out of Play-Doh. His most outlandishly beautiful creation is La Sagrada Familia, a church he began in 1882, and which is still being built. Construction is expected to be finally completed in 2026. Appearing almost like a drip sandcastle, the church features many tall spires and points along the roof, and it's adorned with stone and plaster sculptures and details as well as colorful pinnacles. La Sagrada Familia also boasts some of the most stunning stained glass windows in the world. Number 21, the Forbidden City, Beijing, China. This ominously named Royal Palace complex in Beijing is an outstanding marvel of Chinese architecture in all its detail and vibrancy. Completed in 1420, the Forbidden City is actually made of many buildings surrounded by a 3-kilometer-long wall and a moat. It's gorgeously decorated mainly in yellow and red, with colorful elements, mythical animals, and distinctly shaped swooping roofs. Because the emperor was considered to be a son of heaven, regular people were not let in, which is why it was considered forbidden. At the center of the Forbidden City is its largest building, the Hall of Supreme Harmony, which contains the throne, atop 3-tiered marble terraces. Beyond are the royal residences. Number 20, Neuschwanstein Castle, Germany. Germany has many gorgeous castles, but the most storybook one has to be Neuschwanstein in Bavaria. Dubbed the fairy tale king, Ludwig II was so inspired by the mountain scenery that he wanted to create a romantic castle like in the poetry of yore, and he succeeded. Unfortunately, he wouldn't live to see the completely finished castle, because he was found dead in a lake under mysterious circumstances in 1886. The castle wasn't mostly completed until 1892. Neuschwanstein seems to float above the surrounding countryside, and though the castle isn't that high, it gives that impression because of its mountain perch, which also made the construction of the castle difficult. Its beauty, though, is unparalleled. Number 19, Angkor Wat, Cambodia. This intricately decorated Buddhist, originally Hindu, temple complex in Cambodia became an important pilgrimage site in the Middle Ages. Today, Angkor Wat is revered by those of all religions for the sophisticated construction of 5 towers, bas reliefs, 3D pictures sculpted into stone, an impressive size as the largest religious monument in the world. In addition, it looks like something out of an adventure movie, as the jungle reclaimed some of the ruins and became one with the architecture. Huge trees seem to grow out of the stone itself. The entire Angkor area contains many temples worth exploring, but Angkor Wat is considered the best of the region and even appears on Cambodia's flag. Number 18, St. Basil's Cathedral, Moscow, Russia. This vivid church looks like a candy confection with its bright colors, lively patterns, and swirling stripes on domes that look like icing on a cupcake. They're actually called onion-shaped domes, but we like cupcake icing better. Completed in 1561 by Ivan IV, known as Ivan the Terrible, this Russian landmark in Moscow's Red Square looks in some ways like a confusion of colors and shapes, but the unexpected whimsy of the design is also part of its appeal. The layout is surprisingly orderly, with 8 chapels around a central church. Originally, the color scheme may have been white with gold domes. The hues were added 100 years later, giving it a totally unique style. Number 17, the Empire State Building, United States of America. This Art Deco skyscraper has entered into legend. King Kong climbed it, lovers marry on Valentine's Day atop it. It's the most photographed building in the world, and it's dominated the New York skyline for nearly 100 years. Opened in 1931, the Empire State Building has 102 floors, stands at 381 meters high, and was the world's tallest building until the World Trade Center was built in 1970. Its sleek silhouette leads up to a glass tube flanked by modern bird-wing buttresses that add to the 1920s and 30s style. At the tube's top, just before the spire, is the 102nd floor. The only NYC skyscraper to rival its beauty is perhaps the Chrysler Building, which opened in 1930, but the Empire State overtook its rival in both height and popularity to become the top landmark of the city. Number 16, Petra, Jordan. The ancient rose city of Petra, Jordan, emerges from the reddish-pink sandstone of Jordan's canyons, and it was an important location on the Middle Eastern trade routes 2,000 years ago. Gradually abandoned after an earthquake, the ruins are now a haunting reminder of that desert kingdom. One of the most incredible structures at Petra is the treasury, located at the bottom of a gorge, an oddly elegant site in the natural terrain. Its gorgeous facade became even more famous when it appeared in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The monastery is another awesome sight, a building carved right out of the rock from which it's made. Number 15, Versailles, France. A masterpiece of extravagant proportion and exorbitant decadence, the Palace of Versailles is one of the grandest royal residences ever to be constructed. Originally built as a hunting lodge just outside of Paris, the chateau was greatly expanded by King Louis XIV, the Sun King, beginning in 1661. He constantly added to it until his death in 1715, in a successful attempt to convey his power and wealth, and held huge parties and ceremonies here. The palace's immense facade is matched by its opulence inside. Its famous 73-meter-long hall of mirrors contains 357 of them. The grandeur of Versailles has seldom been equaled, and it also has some of the world's most unforgettable royal gardens. Number 14, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Italy. This bell tower owes some of its unique beauty to nature, and some to the mistake of its ambitious builders. But they might be forgiven, as the bell tower was one of the tallest of the Middle Ages. Plus, their error is our gain. The unstable foundation resulted in the tilt that's made the tower so famous. Begun in 1173 and finally completed 200 years later, the tower in Pisa, Italy, has undergone many different restoration efforts to try to halt the lean and prevent the tower's collapse, and in 2008, they seem to have been successful. The lean is currently at 4 degrees, with the top about 5 meters off the vertical from the base below, and it should hold that way for the next 200 years. Would the Leaning Tower be so celebrated without the leaning part? It's still a very beautiful structure, with each of its middle 6 stories containing 30 white marble arches, with 207 columns in total. Number 13, the Parthenon, Athens, Greece. This iconic ancient Greek temple stands on the Acropolis, a rocky mount and natural fortress high in the center of Athens, making the structure visible from across the surrounding city. Even though it's in ruins, the power of this temple to mystify those who look upon it remains. Built around 440 BCE, this building dedicated to Athena, the goddess of war and wisdom, is made of marble and decorated with statues and reliefs of gods and battles. One collection of the Parthenon's statues were removed and taken to the British Museum, called the Eglin Marbles. The subject of their return is an ongoing debate today. Number 12, the Colosseum, Rome. Every ancient site in Rome is outstandingly beautiful, from the Roman Forum to Palatine Hill to the Pantheon Temple to the chariot racetrack Circus Maximus, all reminders of a thriving and vibrant city that existed long ago. But one site represents all the glory that was ancient Rome, the Colosseum. A massive stone amphitheater originally covered in marble and travertine, it was built for the same reasons as the stadiums of today, for sport and entertainment. Holding more than 50,000 spectators, this huge structure took 8 years to build, from 72 to 80 CE, though it got a few updates later. As in the movie Gladiator, the entertainment did tend to be on the gory side, with actual gladiators fighting to the death. The arena also held executions, and was even flooded for mock naval battles. Number 11, the Great Wall of China. Rolling over the landscape of China, this marvel of architecture blends into the countryside it was built to protect. The Great Wall is not actually one wall, but many branches over thousands of kilometers. Built over 2 millennia from the 3rd century BCE to the 17th century CE, the military defense system's length was likely around 20,920 kilometers. While much less of it remains today, it's still the longest wall in the world, currently with 3,460 meters of its main line, and about the same number of branches and spurs, according to Guinness World Records. One of mankind's greatest building Sydney achievements,
Opera House,
it's impossible
Australia.
not to be awed by
Even
the
if
sight
you've
of it.
never
Been to the opera, you probably recognize the soaring arches of this building over Sydney Harbour, Australia. It stands by itself as one of the indisputable masterpieces of human creativity, not only in the 20th century, but in the history of humankind, reads a report to UNESCO World Heritage, of which the building is now a member. Designed in the late 1950s and opened in 1973, the vaulted shells of the Opera House seem to burst out of its harborside setting, at once totally modern but also evoking emotion, a dramatic setting to match the drama of the performing arts it houses. Number 9, Christ the Redeemer, Brazil. Keeping watch over Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, this 30-meter-tall Art Deco statue with outstretched arms was completed in 1931, and was the only modern structure voted to be included in the new 7 Wonders of the World. Perched on the top of Corcovado Mountain over 700 meters above the sea, the beauty of Christ the Redeemer stirs the soul, even among those who aren't religious. Known locally as Cristo Redentor, the statue is also part of Tijuca National Park, the largest urban rainforest on Earth. Number 8, Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament, England. Big Ben. Parliament. Everyone remembers the line from the movie National Lampoon's European Vacation, and the most famous and beloved clock tower in the world does indeed dominate the London skyline. But it's actually the bell inside, which weighs more than 13 tons, that is technically called Big Ben. The 96-meter tower is officially Elizabeth Tower. The original Palace of Westminster, which now houses the British government's parliament, was destroyed by fire in 1834. Nearly a decade later, plans were made for a new, Gothic Revival-style stone building. Designed by Charles Barry to blend in seamlessly with the surviving medieval buildings, the ornate Parliament building, and the tower took 30 years to build. Number 7, the Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco. One of the most famous bridges in the world, San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge is also perhaps the most breathtaking, spanning the Golden Gate Strait, which links the San Francisco Bay to the Pacific Ocean. In addition to the striking towers and graceful cables of the suspension bridge, its most recognizable aspect is the unique color, called International Orange, painted on the steel structure. But the color wasn't an easy sell back in 1933, when the bridge began construction. The Golden Gate Bridge is one of the greatest monuments of all time, consulting architect Irving Morrow wrote to convince the bridge's board of directors. Its unprecedented size and scale, along with its grace of form and independence of conception, all call for unique and unconventional treatment from every point of view. Number 6, the Stonehenge, United Kingdom. Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument on Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire, England, 2 miles, 3 kilometers, west of Amesbury. It consists of an outer ring of vertical sarsen standing stones, each around 13 feet, 4.0 meters, high, 7 feet, 2.1 meters, wide, and weighing around 25 tons, topped by connecting horizontal lintel stones. Inside is a ring of smaller blue stones. Inside these are freestanding trilithons, 2 bulkier vertical sarsens joined by 1 lintel. The whole monument, now ruinous, is aligned towards the sunrise on the summer solstice. The stones are set within earthworks in the middle of the densest complex of Neolithic and Bronze Age monuments in England, including several hundred tumuli. Archaeologists believe that Stonehenge was constructed from around 3000 BC to 2000 BC. The surrounding circular earth bank and ditch, which constitute the earliest phase of the monument, have been dated to about 3100 BC. Number 5. The Mount Rushmore National Memorial, United States of America. The Mount Rushmore National Memorial is a national memorial centered on a colossal sculpture carved into the granite face of Mount Rushmore, 6 grandfathers, in the Black Hills near Keystone, South Dakota, United States. Sculptor Gutzon Borglum designed the sculpture, called Shrine of Democracy, and oversaw the project's execution from 1927 to 1941 with the help of his son, Lincoln Borglum. The sculpture features the 60-foot-tall, 18 heads of 4 United States presidents: George Washington, 1732 to 1799, Thomas Jefferson, 1743 to 1826, Theodore Roosevelt, 1858 to 1919, and Abraham Lincoln, 1809 to 1865. Mount Rushmore attracts more than 2 million visitors annually. The 4 presidents were chosen to represent the nation's birth, growth, development, and preservation, respectively. The memorial park covers 1,278 acres, and the mountain's elevation is 5,725 feet, 1,745 meters, above sea level. The sculptor chose Mount Rushmore in part because it faces southeast for maximum sun exposure. Number 4. The Alhambra, Spain. The Alhambra is a beautiful complex of buildings and gardens. Its leafy tree-lined walkways provide pleasant shade and coolness, enhanced by the abundance of water that flows in its streams. It was the largest political and aristocratic center of the Muslim West. The palace premises comprise beautiful rectangular courtyards and numerous fountains, as well as the Nasrid buildings that served as living quarters for the monarchs and their servants. The oldest building is the Alcazaba Citadel. One of the most important structures is the La Vela Tower, which offers one of the loveliest views of the Alhambra. The courtyard of the Lions with its fountains is one of the most beautiful in the compound. The Alhambra is an ancient palace, fortress and citadel located in Granada, Spain. The 8th-century-old site was named for the reddish walls and towers that surrounded the citadel. Al-Qal'a al-Hamra in Arabic means red fort or castle. It's the only surviving Palatine city, a royal territorial center, of the Islamic Golden Age, and a remnant of the Nasrid dynasty, the last Islamic kingdom in Western Europe. Number 3. The Eiffel Tower, Paris, France. Paris has an abundance of beautiful sights: Notre Dame, the Louvre, the Arc de Triomphe, and many more. But the Eiffel Tower stands as the iconic landmark of France's capital, although it's only been part of the city for 131 years. Designed by Gustave Eiffel and built in just over 2 years, which was considered record speed at the time, the 300-meter-tall Iron Tower was created for the 1889 World's Fair. Before coming together at the high pinnacle, the uprights appear to burst out of the ground, and in a way to be shaped by the action of the wind. Eiffel explained of his simple yet elegant design. Number 2. The Pyramids at Giza, Egypt. The only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world left standing, the 3 ancient Egyptian pyramids outside of Cairo house the tombs of 3 pharaohs: Khufu, his son Khafre, and his son Menkaure. Khufu's is called the Great Pyramid because it's the biggest, originally reaching 139 meters high. The 3 amazing structures were built over 70 years from about 2575 to 2465 BCE. It's not completely known how the stone blocks from nearby quarries were lifted into the pyramid shapes, although experts believe they were built by tens of thousands of farmers in the off-season, not slaves. However they were constructed, the work was solid, literally, leaving the impressive pyramids still standing today to astound people just as they did thousands of years ago. Number 1. The Taj Mahal, Agra, India. The most beautiful tomb ever created, India's Taj Mahal looks delicate and refined, decorated with floral and geometric patterns, jewels, calligraphy, and a lace-like design in white marble that reflects the changing colors of the sun in front of a shimmering reflecting pool. Commissioned in 1632 by the Emperor Shah Jahan for his wife Mumtaz Mahal, who had died after giving birth to their 14th child, the mausoleum took 20 years to build. The complex also includes a gateway, mosque, guest house, gardens, and 4 minarets. Inside the Taj Mahal, the decorations are just as elaborate around the cenotaph, or false tomb, of Mumtaz Mahal. Her actual remains are buried below, at ground level.